The soft glow of fairy lights twinkled above the sprawling garden of the Grayson estate in Portland, Oregon, as laughter danced off crystal champagne flutes during the family anniversary party. My father, Richard, raised his glass, his gaze fixing on me with a wry grin. "Lila, try not to embarrass us tonight like you always manage," he said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. A few cousins chuckled. My aunt sipped her wine. My mother, Margaret, studied her plate. No one intervened. Neither did I. I rose, murmured an excuse, and walked out past the neatly clipped lilacs, slid into my car and drove off. No tears, no scene. Just a silence so keen it cut through every memory of seeking their acceptance. That night was my last Grayson gathering, the moment I abandoned their approval. A year later, I bought my dream home and hosted a party they glimpsed on Instagram. Growing up a Grayson in Portland meant mastering 3 tenets of triumph: degrees, prestige, and muted compliance. My brother Owen followed this to a T, MIT engineering, now a lead engineer with 2 impeccable kids. My sister, Nora, became a corporate consultant by 33, married to a man with a ski lodge share. I painted murals, rearranged spaces obsessively as a child, and turned the shed into a wildflower haven for a 4th grade science project. I wasn't the favored one. I was the she's imaginative outlier. Whenever I shared a win, a mural for a community park or an eco-friendly cafe redesign, I met the same response. A cocked head, a tight smile, then a shift to Owen's latest patent or Nora's merger. At a nephew's christening, I overheard Uncle Paul murmur, "Lila's charming, but she's still finding her path." I was 27, running a modest interior design venture from a light-filled loft. To them, my curated rooms and vision boards spelled unpredictability, not purpose. For years, I bridged the divide. I arrived early to family brunches, decorated for celebrations, even overhauled Dad's study for free. At Nora's engagement fete, I built a birch arch. They deemed it rustic but quirky. I gifted Owen a sketch of his son's playroom. He grinned, "We'll get a decorator." By 28, I stopped offering, not from bitterness, but from seeing some wouldn't honor success beyond their framework. Holidays meant for joy were traps for me. I'd bring a baked galette to Thanksgiving only for Dad to jest. Nora brought Bordeaux, Owen brought roast. Lila brought flair, I suppose. Laughter ensued. I slipped to the kitchen. At Christmas, while they flaunted raises and estates, someone would ask, "Still with that arty thing?" As if it were a fleeting hobby. 2 years ago, on Mother's Day, I crafted Mom a rosemary trellis, hand-carved with her monogram. She nodded. Nora's sapphire necklace drew cheers. Their critiques came veiled in grins and glass clinks, a passive wound wrapped in embroidered serviettes, marking me the eccentric who dressed well but contributed little. I dreaded invites, not from disdain but because each event reflected my erasure. One Easter, arriving late, I found no place card. A scrawled paper one teetered on a wobbly chair. Nora teased, "Lila's got the craft spot." I forced a smile, but the barbs dulled my spark. By the anniversary party, the hurt wasn't abrupt. It was a canvas layered with slights, stifling my voice. That night, their 40th, the estate shimmered with garden lights, a string quartet and lavish dishes. Nora planned the layout. Owen projected a tribute. I wore a teal dress, hand-stitched, hoping for change. During toasts, Nora spoke with polish. Owen cited a thinker. Then Uncle Paul called, "Lila, your turn." I stood, pulse racing. "I don't have a speech, but I'm thankful for." Dad interjected, chuckling, "Skip the verse, let's keep it cheerful." The room tittered. My cheeks flamed. I sat silent as music resumed. Nora whispered, "You're too thin-skinned." It's his jest. But it was their norm. Mass jabs, live edits. The salmon cooled, the wine turned tart. My hands trembled under the cloth. I rose again, clutched my purse and exited, past the lights, past the hedges. No one followed. Driving off, windows open, dress swaying, I left not in humiliation, but in a silence that felt like defiance. What would this rupture yield, and how would I reshape my story? That question pulsed, a steady beat urging me onward. The story's getting more and more interesting, isn't it? Don't miss out on what happens next. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Let's see what other challenges await our hero. The gentle click of my apartment door in Portland, Oregon, echoed through the small entryway as I shut it behind me after the anniversary party, my footsteps muffled by a hand-woven rug from a local craft fair, its earthy tones a stark contrast to the turmoil within. The legal silence from my departure, Dad's cutting remark and the rift that followed, lingered like a shadow on the cedar walls, etched with the memory of their dismissive laughter. My heart thudded with the weight of that moment, the sting of their rejection sharper than the damp autumn air seeping through the cracked window outside. The quiet after walking away was a jagged break, splintering years of suppressed longing into fragments I could no longer ignore. Owen's texts, "You didn't need to do this," and "Mom's, where are you? Are you safe?" buzzed incessantly, a storm of concern and control I muted with a single swipe. What would their backlash bring? Anger, manipulation, or a forced reconciliation? And how would I guard my newfound peace against the tide of their expectations? That question stirred, a restless current propelling me forward through the uncertainty. The days after the party were a blend of resolve and rediscovery, a quiet rebellion against the silence I'd endured. I settled into a worn armchair by the window, the patter of rain against the glass my only solace, its rhythm a gentle counterpoint to the chaos in my mind as I grappled with the weight of my choice to step away. Tara, a colleague from the design firm with a warm smile and steady hands, brought comfort food, wild mushroom soup fragrant with thyme, artisan bread still warm from the oven, her steady presence a harbor in the storm. Her friend, Elena, sent a sketchbook with a note tucked inside, "You're carving your own stream, let it flow." I braced for the familiar pang of regret, the guilt they'd trained me to feel, but it eluded me, slipping away like mist over the Willamette River. Instead, I opened a leather-bound notebook, debts unpaid, and began cataloging the emotional toll with a steady hand. Owen's funded tech startups, Mom's spa escapes to rejuvenate her spirit, Dad's investments in him that never seemed to end. Each entry was a wound, a scar of their favoritism that hardened my stance and fueled a fire I hadn't known I carried. I fortified my boundaries with deliberate care. I contacted the bank, requesting a thorough review of any shared accounts, citing years of exclusion with the counsel of Sarah, a local attorney with a quiet strength. The officer, a kind man named James with graying hair and a patient demeanor, noted suspicious withdrawals, luxury cruises to the Caribbean, car upgrades for Owen's latest venture, patterns that mirrored the neglect I'd lived through. I saved the detailed log, a bulwark against the narrative they'd spin to reclaim their dominance. I updated my will, naming Tara as trustee with a sense of finality, and set up a protected trust fund with Sarah's meticulous guidance, securing my assets against their reach. My phone erupted with a barrage. "Dad's, this is petty and childish. Mom's, we need you back in the fold. Owen's, you're tearing us apart with this silence." A cacophony I silenced, letting messages pile up like evidence in a courtroom of my own making. 6 days later, Dad called 9 times, his persistence a drumbeat of pressure. I answered on the 10th, my voice even despite the tremor in my chest. "Lila, what's this rebellion?" he demanded, his tone a mix of authority and confusion. I kept my response measured. "Where did your focus on me go all these years?" He stammered, "Household bills, Owen's tech ventures, Mom's health treatments," excuses that crumbled under scrutiny. I pressed, "Health doesn't cost $9,000 monthly. That SUV was a Lexus, not a necessity." He snapped, "Don't slander your family." I said, "You erased me with your words. That's your burden to bear." Mom took over, her voice softening into manipulation. "Just help us now, for old time's sake." "Not my duty to fix your choices," I replied, ending the call with a resolve that surprised even me. No guilt clouded my decision. The next 72 hours were a tense pause, a calm before their inevitable surge, the air thick with anticipation like the fog rolling in from the coast. Owen texted, "They're at my place, falling apart. Happy now?" I replied with a steady hand, "They chose this path, not me." He retorted, "Your pride hurt Mom's feelings deeply." I countered, "She hurt herself with her silence and complicity." He went mute, the silence between us heavier than words. Dad emailed a lengthy justification, feigned remorse, a hastily scribbled budget sketch, shifting blame onto my overreaction. I didn't respond, adding his hollow promises to my notebook, braced for the twist they'd surely employ to regain control. Mom texted, "We're downsizing the estate," the finality of it biting like a cold wind. a crack in their once impenetrable facade that hinted at their unraveling. I reshaped my life with intentional steps, each one a brushstroke on a new canvas. I worked late into the night, pursuing a sustainability certification to deepen my design ethos, saving diligently for a workshop space of my own. The apartment transformed, gaining a cedar trunk carved with subtle patterns, a potted fern thriving in the corner, each a thread of autonomy woven into my days. Every Sunday I brewed herbal tea with hints of lavender and mint, its warmth a quiet stand against the chill of their rejection. Whispers of their decline drifted to me. A coworker noted Dad's firm-facing layoffs. A neighbor mentioned Mom's strained smiles at the country club. They spun tales that I'd moved for a promotion, a convenient lie to mask their own instability. I let it fade into the background noise. A month later, Kai, a firm planner with a keen eye for detail, noticed my drive during a late project meeting. "Sustainability path?" he asked, his curiosity genuine. I nodded and he shared resources, books, contacts, case studies, leading to late-night sessions where we reviewed eco-friendly designs, his alliance a stark contrast to the isolation of home. One chilly evening, a knock startled me from my sketches. Owen, his face etched with exhaustion. "Can we talk?" he asked, voice low. I stepped aside, letting him in. "I didn't know it'd unravel this far," he began. "Dad's faltering under pressure, Mom's fragile with worry." He paused, then added, "I saw your notebook hint about their neglect. I'm sorry for not seeing it sooner." His tone wavered, a crack in his usual confidence. "They're livid with you, but I'm starting to understand. What's your next move?" I asked, my voice steady. "Community college, maybe green tech to build something real," he said, shifting his weight. We sat on the couch, a fragile accord forming between us, the space filled with the scent of rain and possibility. What would this fragile connection hold? Reconciliation or further fracture? And how would I guide it through the currents of our past? That question flowed, a stream to navigate, carrying me toward an unknown shore. The golden hue of a Portland sunset streamed through my loft window, bathing the room in a warm honeyed glow as I sipped elderflower tea, the subtle scent of pine wafting from a branch on the sill, mingling with the faint earthy aroma of moss gathered from a recent hike. The legal papers from Sarah rested on a walnut shelf beside a framed sketch of my childhood wildflower shed, its delicate petals a quiet testament to the anniversary party's rupture and my break from Dad and Mom's grasp. Their unraveling lingered like a distant fog drifting over the Columbia River, softened by Owen's tentative amends and Tara's unwavering support, which had sown seeds of renewal in the fertile soil of my resolve. The city's gentle pulse, the rustle of maple leaves swaying in the evening breeze, the distant hum of the Willamette River flowing steadily below, and the occasional trill of a songbird nesting nearby, wrapped around me like a soft shawl woven from the threads of the forest. I'd transformed their dismissal into a foundation for something enduring, a legacy carved from my resilience against the winds of neglect. The desk, now strewn with sustainability notes scribbled on recycled paper, a thriving peace lily with broad green leaves, and a journal filled with eco-designs inspired by the rugged Oregon landscape, held the blueprint of a future I'd craft with my own hands. What I'd built from this liberation had been my compass, and now it flourished into a community I could nurture, its roots stretching deep into the rich earth. In the months after Owen's visit, the loft became a haven of self-discovery and quiet strength. Tara visited weekly with hazelnut scones still warm from the oven and stories that filled the room with laughter. Elena sending woven bookmarks adorned with tiny beads and notes like, "You're shaping your own river with every ripple." Owen texted about community college strides, a green tech internship blossoming under his care, and late-night study sessions that marked his growth as a fragile bloom pushing through the shadows. Dad and Mom faded into a silence as vast as the coastal fog, their last plea, "Help us now," a faint echo carried away by the wind through the pines. I didn't dwell in that shadow. I acted with unwavering intent. With savings from my design work and a $30,000 inheritance from a great-uncle, his note reading, "For your quiet strength," in his shaky script, I launched the Grayson Renewal Project, a program aiding young creatives overlooked in sustainable design with mentorship, hands-on workshops, and microgrants. My tribute to the endurance I'd reclaimed from years of being sidelined. The project's name, etched on a cedar plaque above the loft door, became a beacon of my resolve. reflecting the light of the setting sun. The project took root with steady organic growth like a seedling breaking through stone. I partnered with a local arts co-op in Portland, pitching a pilot to empower the sidelined with tools for self-expression and ecological harmony. Funds trickled in. A $40,000 grant from an eco foundation moved by my testimony shared at a community forum, $12,000 from a design firm inspired by my journey recounted over tea, $2,500 from Tara's community bake sale featuring local berries, and an unexpected $600 from a street fair where I displayed sketches of the hub. I enlisted Owen for coordination, his precision a surprise honed by late-night study under the glow of a lantern, and Maya, a career mentor with a warm laugh, whose insight and gentle encouragement shaped the vision into a sanctuary of hope bathed in natural light. We secured a space in the Pearl District, a refurbished warehouse with skylights casting golden beams across the room, reclaimed wood walls echoing with history, and a small courtyard where volunteers planted native ferns, opening after 10 months of tireless planning and neighborhood meetings. The Grayson Hub debuted on a crisp May morning, the air fresh with blooming camas and the earthy scent of rain-soaked soil underfoot. I stood with Owen and Maya, scissors in hand, as artists, allies, neighbors, and a local news crew gathered under a canopy fluttering in the gentle spring wind. "This is for the unseen, the voices waiting to be heard," I declared, voice firm yet infused with emotion. Maya cut the ribbon, applause rising like a spring wind carrying the promise of renewal, the space alive with the clatter of tools, the soft murmur of shared dreams and the scent of fresh cedar. Inside, the hub thrived with vibrant purpose. A workshop hummed with Maya's design sessions, participants sketching with focused determination on sustainable materials. A lounge hosted creative exchanges where stories wove a tapestry of resilience against a backdrop of forest-inspired art. And a small office managed grants with the quiet efficiency of a well-tended grove. I roamed the space, the energy of renewal soothing old wounds like a balm carried on the breeze, and sat at my desk, jotting in a leather-bound journal. They saw me as a misfit, not a daughter, but I've turned their neglect into this. This hub proves my value beyond their narrow ledger. A hand-carved sign by the door, crafted by a local woodworker with strokes of forest green and earthy brown, read, "Growth in Roots, Vision in Bloom," a tribute to my path and the community's rising spirit reflected in every line. That night, I lingered as the crowd thinned, the lounge settling into a soft hush broken only by the rustle of maple leaves outside, a blank ledger on a table symbolizing fresh starts and the promise of a dawn yet to break over the Cascades. The months that followed solidified my path with unwavering resolve, like a river carving its course through stone. The hub hosted design fairs drawing creatives from Salem and Eugene, their portfolios clutched like lifelines against the currents of doubt, support circles filling the lounge with the clink of ceramic mugs and shared dreams, its name rippling through eco-networks, community boards, and a radio segment hosted by a local gardener. I hired Sam, a 28-year-old advocate with a fire in his eyes, his passion echoing my fight against the shadows of neglect. Project funds supported the Elena Grant, named for Tara's friend, aiding Priya, a teen mastering eco-textiles. Her first scarf of hand-dyed wool, a deep reward that warmed my heart like a summer sun filtering through the trees. Elena visited often, bringing Dad once on a quiet afternoon. "You've built something enduring," he murmured, his voice rough with a hint of reflection. We sat by the skylight, recalling old hikes along the Columbia Gorge where the mist clung to the cliffs, a fragile warmth emerging like the first light of morning. Owen flourished, earning credits and teasing, "I'm the planner now," with a grin over a bowl of soup. We started Kinship Fridays, soup with wild mushrooms, forest walks where we paused to watch deer graze, forging a new bond stitched with laughter and shared silences. Mom remained a mute silhouette against the horizon, but Elena urged, "Keep growing, let your branches reach wide." 6 months later, I stood on the balcony, the Oregon dusk painting the sky in amber and violet, the Cascade Range a steadfast guardian against the fading light, its peaks dusted with the first hint of snow. The hub's progress, a $70,000 grant from a women's eco-coalition, plans for a mobile studio painted with leaf motifs, and a new meditation nook with riverstone accents, filled me with pride that glowed like the setting sun dipping behind the mountains. The loft, once a refuge from their neglect, now felt like a launch pad propelling me toward new horizons, its walls adorned with Priya's scarf in soft earth tones, a map of our region marked with the hub's location, and a framed photo of Elena tending her garden under a golden sky. I traced the horizon with my gaze, the city's lights twinkling like fireflies dancing in the dusk, and smiled with a contentment that settled deep in my bones. I'd shaped a life with purpose, turning pain into a platform where others could rise like the morning mist over the valley. The void left by Dad and Mom birthed this. Owen's rise, Elena's tender care, the hub's heartbeat pulsing with every creative step forward. I was whole, at peace, my legacy rooted in a community I'd cultivated, its branches reaching toward a dawn where no one would be overlooked again, their voices rising like the songs of the forest carried on the wind. Hey everyone! Thanks for tuning into the Revenge Tempest channel. If you love this story, please hit that subscribe button and join our amazing community. Drop a comment below letting us know where you watched us from. Your support keeps us going. Stay tuned for more epic tales,